decisions. Um, but you kind of gotta like keep your eye on the prize. You know what I mean? Like you again, like I just got done saying, you know what you want. You know what it looks like. Um, you're just gonna have to like, you know, again, like say if you came over here, it's temporary. Like this isn't like, like, oh yeah, this is where I've always wanted to end up. Of course not. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, I feel like we can at least help you in the meantime. Put a roof over your head. You got a shower, you got a kitchen, you got whatever. Like, yeah, it's not gonna be ideal. It's gonna be a little cozy for a couple months. Um, but it's at least an option. I mean, my parents have said like if you want to move back in with them, you're more than welcome to do that too. You know?
All right, let's go Lahaina level. And
Okay.
I don't know who's joining us today. There wasn't a whole lot of response with the event that I created on the Facebook page, but I want to make sure that we're still here, and you know the consistency of what we're doing here, I think,
Crucial.
is the heartbeat of it, because it's um a lot of some people have said that it wasn't a good time for them or whatever like that, but I just it's a decent enough time for us, and changing up the time, I think, would just create more confusion um than it would present. So for now, we'll stick to the Saturday at noon thing.
Yeah.
And we're happy for those of you that are just joining us. We're happy to announce that Let's Talk Lahaina is going to continue on into 2024 with the help of a new sponsor. It's a new uh, merchandise and clothing brand called 96761gear.com. And portion of the proceeds of all the sales there are going to be used to buy gift cards for impacted Lahaina families. And then also, I understand that the website will allow you to add on a tip to any purchase, and 100% of those tips go into the same bucket. Those will be delivered to impacted Lahaina families and residents that are still trying to rebuild a life after 4 months plus of trying to scratch out some sort of path between the tragedy of that day, August the 8th, through to a point where we can kind of go back to Lahaina town and begin to think about what the future of Lahaina looks like. Right now we're dealing with, seems to me like some of the two biggest issues that are happening now are the uh, location and handling of the toxic material that's being removed from the sites that are in Lahaina town. They got it zoned out, and I guess they went in and started removing stuff from places that had standing structures first.
Hello. You there? Looks like Brother
Which
Zero
apparently is
froze. Whoops. You there? He froze
here.
for a few minutes.
Okay.
There you go.
Um, yeah, let me put this somewhere that might get a better signal. Yeah. So apparently there's some demonstrations and stuff that are happening outside the Oluwalu transfer station, because people are saying, hey, this is not a good place to put this material, because it's right at the, at the head, at the basically at the base of some um, water flows that take water down to the reef right off of Oluwalu, which is a mother reef. It's a significant part of the ocean ecology there. So it's a pretty controversial, even though they're saying, oh, whatever we got. And you can see they're showing pictures. I think they showed a drone picture of this big area that has this plastic sheeting or something like that. But it looks to me like ocean side of it is just wide open. So if a big rain came along or whatever, you just wash all the stuff down the hill into the beach right there at at Olawalu. So it doesn't really look um it's like it's super sealed up to me. Obviously they're not done, but it's gonna be months of putting stuff in that spot. In the meantime, it rains over there, and what happens? So I don't know. It doesn't look great. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me to see
How
stuff that's
far
going to go into
away
those spot.
from how far up the hill, how far away do you think it is from like the water line?
Not even a mile.
Really? Wow.
Doesn't look
Yeah,
like
because
it's
I mean,
even a mile.
I remember they wanted to put a housing development in there, and like that got shut down because same thing, they did an environmental impact
Right.
on the runoff, and they shut that shit down.
Yeah, there's
I'm just wondering,
here you go. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to share this screen right here because this is I don't it doesn't show the map though. Shit. Yeah, here let me show you. Let me share this screenshot. So there's this whole thing has plastic, but it doesn't look
right?
too much secure. It looks to me like all the water's got to do is come down this mountain face right here and just come draining down to here and go right out into the ocean. So I don't know. It doesn't look like a really secure site to me. Um, so they're demonstrating out there now. People are like, "Oh, whatever, blah, blah, they're causing traffic to be disrupted and stuff like that." I'm like, "Yeah, demonstrations are supposed to be disruptive. It's supposed to make people stop and pay attention. You know, if you can do it with the size of your crowd, great. If you can do it with the placement of your actual protests, then I don't know. It just seems like they moved on that really fast. And even though it looks like uh, it looks like they tried to get.
Yeah, what?
Oh yeah, yeah. Here you go. Look at this. Let me share this. I just found this the other thing that I was looking for that had that showed the proximity. So here's the toxic, and here's that knob or whatever, like there. And
Right.
here's the transfer station that everybody goes and takes their green waste and all that shit to. So you drive up the hill, blah, 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 blah. There's the toxic stuff. Water comes down this mountain face, down this hill. It's right in the road, blah, 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 goes out and boom, right into the ocean right there. That's not even a mile. And there's
Oh,
all the toxic stuff right there.
right.
Tell me how that fixes the problem. I don't get it. I really
Yeah.
don't. So
Tough. Because I mean, I guess the other option is for them to barge it out somewhere, and then like, okay, then where are they going to dump it and the costs associated with that, and you know, I think no matter what they do, nobody's going to be happy,
I think
because if
you're
they're
right.
like, oh well, we're gonna, it's going to cost
And then
everybody,
and it's, oh, let's dump it in Kohlave. Well, the thing is, then then people are going to be complaining about
right,
the access because it's human remains there. It's a memorial site,
right, right, right.
it's Kapu land, like that.
Yeah,
So what do you got to do? You got to take a boat and then and like right now, you got to get a permit to even set foot on
right,
Um, so what does that mean? Anytime somebody wants to go and remember the seven grandparents that lived across the street from my house that burned at the old folks home over there. I mean, when Sean and I were back on Lahaina Luna Road that Friday for the couple of hours that they let us go in before FEMA kicked us out, we went and peeked over the chain link fence or like that, and there was bodies sitting right there, burned up. It was disgusting. I was sick to my
wow,
stomach.
yeah,
So What are you gonna do? So those people, so if you want to go see their family, what they got to go get a permit from the state now to go to take a boat specifically to Kohlrabi to see the, to place flowers at the de facto graves of their grandparents that got, you know what I mean? Like so there's no easy solution to this. So, but I think it just seems to me like they could have prepared that spot a little bit better because it looks wide open and vulnerable to me, you know.
Yeah.
So looks to me like somebody's trying to fill that spot in so in 30 years they can turn it into a golf course.
Yeah, right.
So I mean that's how it works. These people are playing a long game.
Yep.
Whoever owns that land, gives it to the state for a song, thinking, oh, 30 years from now I can sell it at top dollar because now it'll be, outside of Oluwalu, which is obviously that area's 5 times bigger now than it was when I first came to Maui. There's all kinds
Yeah.
of development stuff like
I mean,
that
you
over
can
there that wasn't
see
even there.
that one aerial shot. I mean, it looks like it's all that it's all been kind of graded and kind of towards Lahaina. Looks like there's already been some kind of, action over
Looks,
there. It's
yeah,
not just
yeah, it
wild,
looks
but
like they
it
were trying to set it up for a development. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, you know, uh it'll
yeah.
be
It
interesting
doesn't
to see. But, like I
something
said, I
stuff
mean
like that
it's
doesn't
gonna
make the news, but it happens.
right.
Hmm.
you know um I think it's a time factor, you know what I mean. I think it's just going to be as people become more and more dissipated, again going back to the mainland or going wherever, because I mean there's people that are at the hotels or whatnot, and I mean all that stuff's running out. There's limited housing. I still don't understand, like going back to that the whole Kapalua Bay Resort. I mean the whole all those studios up Huief were built specifically for all the people that were building Kapalua Bay Resort and all the Ritz
Right.
Carlton and all that stuff. And like, I don't understand why they don't just apply that to Lahaina. You know what I mean? Like build an apartment complex, build a studio complex, little 1, 2 bedrooms, you know. And I don't know if it was you or somebody was like, oh, because they want $1 million homes up there. And it's like, well,
Mhm.
yeah, but for the people that even at that, okay, you have residences. Well, then what about people working in the, people that work in the grocery store, people that work at the post office, people that work in the restaurants, people where like those people aren't going to be able to afford $1 million homes. So it's
Right.
like, pull your head out of your ass, guys. Like, do you see that there was a guy that he owns some property up Line Luna or up somewhere, and
No, it's
he
up kind
wants
of
to
probably
put
hillside.
he
That was
wants
the dude that
he
had
put the
the
trailers.
tiny homes. Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to put a dozen up there, whatever. And of course, all the neighbors are already up in arms about it. And because
Yep.
it's going to invite, and it's the guy's like, dude, number one, it's his property. He can do whatever he wants with it.
That's what
Uh,
I'm saying.
but it's, the traffic, and it's going to invite, it's like, he's like, he's like, I'm not just going to invite homeless people, not homeless people, but people without jobs and whatnot. Like,
Yeah, we're not
there's
talking
going
about
to be a
indigents. We're talking about
vetting.
working class people.
Right. And so it's like, Jesus, like, and he's like, I'm not charging these people anything, he's donating all this stuff. So it's like, it's not like
Right.
he's trying to like make money off these people, so
Isn't this the same guy that put up tiny homes on his place right after the fire happened and the people in the county came in and actually destroyed him? Isn't this the same
no,
guy?
not the thing I saw yesterday. He had a structure up there, but and it got destroyed just by the winds because it was 80-mile-an-hour winds. The whole thing
Mhm.
got picked up and knocked over, whatever. But the thing I saw was he had a on a 23-foot trailer, and he did a little walkthrough of it. It was basically like your long camping style trailer or whatnot. And he was like, yeah, I want to put a dozen of them for people that lost their homes, as a temporary residence until people can get back on their feet. And there's already a lawsuit against him to stop it and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it's like,
Right.
Jesus Christ, like,
This is what I don't understand because these people want to make these arguments that these people are making against him doing what he wants with his land. The same argument was ignored when they put structure after structure after structure after structure on Lower Hanapalani Highway or Lower Hanapalani Road to make Hanakawai. Hanakawai is the most population dense area on the west side
Right.
because you got all those condo buildings, all those timeshare buildings, all those hotels, all those pseudo resort typey things,
Right.
stuff like that. Are you trying to tell me that from a density standpoint or from an infrastructure support standpoint that Lower Hanapalani Road can handle all that? It obviously
Right.
can. Anybody that's ever been on Hanapalani Road, I mean, look at what they're doing now, replacing that bridge south of S turns and stuff like that. That's been like almost a year underway. You know what I mean? Just to replace a bridge. You
Yeah.
know, so you can't tell me I mean that area is just hanging on. So you're going to tell me that putting 12 structures up a road somewhere is going to overload the infrastructure? Give me a
Right.
fucking
Right.
break. Have you ever
Yeah.
been in Lahaina Luna neighborhood? You know what I mean? You know how many people
Yeah.
per square foot is in that place?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Used to be anyway. So it's bullshit. They're using these bullshit arguments that don't get applied equitably. If everybody else was held to the same standard, then I would be like, okay, that's just the way it is. But
Right.
obviously, this rule is being applied strategically and maliciously.
Mm-hmm.
So because what's happening now is they want to force this guy out. Well, fuck it, I can't do what I want with my land. What's he gonna do? And somebody comes along and says, "Yeah, hey, I guess what? I guess what? I'd love to take your land and put a big ass resort on it. Here's a nice fat envelope of cash, whatever. How about it? Okay, fuck it. I'm tired of dealing with this local government because they're obviously for the take. You know,
Yeah.
this is part of the overall package. This is part of what's happening here. This is the
Yeah.
land grab, and I posted that on my Facebook page too because there was that real estate office in Wailea that was actively marketing to people, sending out things saying, "Now's the time. Now's the time to
Mm-hmm.
sell your Lahaina land," stuff like that. That's just that's
Yeah.
unbelievable. That's just unbelievable as far as disrespect towards these
Right.
families and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like opportunistic. That's what the thing is. All these people are like, oh, whatever. There's a land grab going on. Well, even if the land grab wasn't the root or the trigger or the motive behind the fire, it's still happening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still in our laps. Six, one half dozen, whether it got here the long way or the short way, it's still here. You know what I mean? So that's what's happening now. You got all these opportunities that are trying to come in, and I hate to see it because I'm afraid that what does every every check box, every parcel that's being sold off is just one more box on the chessboard, that one more square on the chessboard of us not being able to really accomplish the resumption of Lahaina. Like they're talking about now about trying to restore some of the water features and things like that. Even some of the I forget the name of it, but it was behind where the ball courts are in
Yeah.
Front Street. It was back over there, like water features and stuff like that. That was
Oh yeah.
covered
Yeah.
over and taken advantage of and stuff like that. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
let's restore that because that was part
The
of the royal
ponds.
residence, the ponds, all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm all for it. Make Lahaina green again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
they've been robbing
For
the
sure.
water out of that place for so long, and it was a lush place for so long.
Right.
You know, and after the sugar company came in and had all the cane fields and stuff like that, you diverted all the water, and then when they stopped doing when they stopped doing the cane, then all those fields were neglected. And anybody that wants to tell me that part of that the neglect of those old sugarcane fields wasn't a contributing factor towards the spread of that fire on that day is a fool,
Yep.
because it absolutely was. Because my backyard
Yeah.
backed right up to it, and I could see it every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's ugly, And the thing is now, and they're saying, oh, the mayor of the county is goes on vacation. Meanwhile, this and this and this and stuff like that, there's people being kicked out of hotels and stuff, begging, having to beg to at least not kick me out till after the first of the year and stuff like that. This stuff is coming to a head. You got demonstrations happening at Olawalu. You got an ongoing active demonstration that's happening on Kanapali Beach right outside of Whalers. right outside of,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There's people out there living on the beach, getting their food brought to them and stuff like that. And 50 feet away, there's somebody else having,
The
fish tacos
vacation.
and hula
Yeah.
pie. So it's ugly, man. It's ugly.
Hmm.
There has not been the real guidance um, that I think people would have expected. That unfortunately people are scrambling in 10 different directions trying to find somehow to persist and survive and recover from these situations and stuff like that. And meanwhile, you get one story from one hotel, one story from another hotel, one story from this governmental agency, another story from another governmental agency. There just hasn't been the cohesiveness of thought, and unfortunately it seems almost intentional. Like there hasn't been like a does that like isn't FEMA supposed to be the one that kind of just manhandles all this stuff and just centralizes all this stuff? No, at this point, they've got deadlines and stuff like that. Like, you're done. You're
Hmm.
done. We'll give you to a certain amount of time, and then you're done. The tragedy is not over. The deadlines have passed. You can't file for new assistance.
Yeah.
Red Cross is helping to a certain degree. Um, but
Yeah. It seems like
I'm not
they're FEMA
I'm
and
not
all the
getting
Red
anything from
Cross.
anybody else.
Yeah. They're
Yeah,
still
FEMA and all
making it
them at this
really.
point, they're
Yeah.
all
Hmm. Yeah.
so
Well,
pretty sad.
I
Pretty
mean,
sad.
yeah. I mean, I wish. What do you think's going to happen with Bison? You think he'll step down?
No, he won't. He won't step down, but he'll get bounced out. You know,
Yeah. Problem
he's
is if it's not him, who's it going to be? I mean, who's going to step into
well,
that leadership role?
that's
You
the
know?
problem. The problem is that we've been effectively disconnected. This is happening at a local level and a national level. We've been really basically disconnected from the potential for any sort of real populist movement because of the proliferation of money through the campaign process. It takes unbelievable amounts of money to win. And unfortunately, the fact that it takes money to win a political contest is a sad state in and of itself. But the amount of money that it takes at this point it precludes the everyday guy from getting involved because the only way to win is to fundraise. And so, and then unfortunately, the like this is the argument that I've said many times on my own personal podcast channel, fail state media, is that the automatic assumption that's built into the system is that if you donate to a political candidate, the automatic assumption is that that political candidate is going to represent your point of view on whatever bill is, of most pressing concern for you, something like that. So the money equals the vote.
Mhm.
And I think that's the fatal flaw in the system. So,
Right.
people bitched about um, people, and this unfortunately happens on in Oahu all the time as well, but Maui that I know better, who got who was the guy before Bisson? What was his name? Victorino.
Victorino? Yeah.
Yeah. Victorino, how did he get in? All the land developers. The land
Hmm.
developers bankrolled that guy. Same
Right.
thing happens with Bisson. Bisson, is getting paid by these same people. So what happens is, even if you throw, my point in saying this whole thing is that even if you throw a business to the side, the setup is such that anybody that would seem to replace him is probably going to be subject to the same sort of corruption. So we're dealing with, I think the ancient Greeks call it Hydra, where you cut off the head and another one grows in its place.
Hmm.
You have to
Well,
change
I
the
think
whole.
the thing with Bison is like just his whole transparency with like, okay, where were you when the fire happened? The decisions that were made
Right,
before, during, and after,
right.
just kind of has been just kind of like this MIA,
Well, the whole thing's been
deflect.
hands off. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the thing. They were like, listen, just make yourself scarce. He's essentially the equivalent of Joe Biden hanging out in the basement during the campaign process because of COVID.
Yeah.
like that. Like, you can't do that again. Where is he now? Dude went on vacation and then took off, came back from vacation and then went on vacation. Meanwhile, we've got news coming out about American citizens being killed by Hamas and blah blah blah, all this different
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
where he doesn't even care. He doesn't care. He knows he's out.
Yeah.
Bisson doesn't care. He knows he's out.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, all we're going to do is come up with somebody else. It's going to be another face, another head of the Hydra. Same thing.
Right.
So I don't know. This is indicative of the system. Unfortunately, it's happening at a lot of places. Um, I'm seeing it happen at the local level and the national level. So we're running into a situation where a person who's going to come in and actually trying to do the right thing and not be beholden to the same deep pocketed, malicious acting special interests and corporate donors and things like that, they're always going to be there until we reform the system. We're doing is cutting off the head of the Hydra. We're not killing the Hydra. So I don't know. I don't know. The only thing that's really going to potentially save this is a super populist um, representative from the West Side. I mean, I would love to see maybe, I don't know. Do you know the name? Like what is her name? Tamara Paulton. Is it Paulton? The representative from the West Side. She's been good. She's been, and Ellie Cochran, same thing. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see one of them run for mayor. Let's
Right.
put let's put some West Side blood into the mayoral office
Mhm.
and see if it holds up to the flame.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
at this point, basically Lahaina is losing every day that passes. Lahaina is losing its sight of being able to return to any kind of normalcy the way we know it.
Right.
Um, I'm not foolish enough to think that the future of Lahaina looks identical to the past, but there we have to at least try to maintain as much of it as we can,
Sure.
and then identify those opportunities for improvement. Like I said, rebuilding those ponds and water features and stuff like that to previous status. And so I don't know. I don't know. There's no easy solution on this, but unfortunately, I'm afraid that people are getting frustrated and throwing their hands up. And we're what? We're 4 months out. What's it going to look like 4 years out?
Yeah. Yeah. It's only going to get worse, you know. Uh,
I'm afraid that the voices that are prevailing right now will eventually be whittled down through time, through just fatal frustration. Just be like, screw it.
yep.
There's not that what
Yeah. There's all
what I'm
this
fighting
heat.
for to go back for is not going to be available. So
Right.
I do.
It's going to be different. That's for sure.
It is.
You know. Have you heard it from Gary at
Yeah.
all?
Not this week. I sent him I sent him a text and thanked him for the Christmas gift that he sent me, but I didn't hear back from him, so I don't really know.
Yeah.
I
Huh.
don't know what the deal is. The last I heard was that he had signed or was in the process of completing the paperwork for them to be able to go in and excavate the toxic material. I don't know if he completed it. I don't know if they got any kind of appointment for when that's actually going to occur or kind of time frame or whatever, because my understanding is that, at some point and also I guess the water is the other thing too, because they're gradually moving south with the replacement of the water pipes and stuff like that, because I think the water is still no good. So they're gonna have to go in and take out all the water lines. I feel fairly certain that out of all the areas that were impacted, the water lines right up Lahaina Lunar like that are gonna have to go, because that's the place that burned the longest.
Right.
And so there would have been more stuff in the soil. So, and when we left, the water sprinklers were on. All three stations of the water sprinklers at my house were on. All the stations that from my recollection, all the stations at Dallas's house across the street were on. So the fire is coming. Meanwhile, the water main is open, flowing. And that's so it seems to me like that's probably was a contributing factor towards the deterioration of the water lines over there. So it seems to me like they're probably going to have to replace the lines up Lahaina Luna anyway. So it's going to be a while,
Yeah.
but he has to be at least in some situation where he can have some understanding about at what point are they going to go in and make an assertion that this is safe to build a residential structure on, or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really have a good ETA on that.
Yeah, we got a while on that,
Yeah.
couple of years.
I hope not, but I would like to think that it would happen within the next year where they would at least reestablish a permit, grant a building permit. Like if he walked up to the office and said, "Here, this is my land. Here's the architectural plan for going in and putting in a new home on my land," like that. And they whatever, put it through the ringer or whatever like that to make sure that it meets all the codes or whatever like that. I don't know if they're gonna have new codes for Lahaina town because people are like, oh, well, part of the reason why the place burned so fast was so much stuff was not up to code. So what is that going to do? It's going to be a knee jerk reaction where they're going to be like, okay, well, the codes in Lahaina have to be super stringent now. I almost expect it because I'm afraid that that's going to be part of their playbook. We're getting people that just wash their hands of their property. Like, screw this. I'm not jumping, I'm not going to jump through all these extra hoops now to rebuild a property because they got all these new codes that have been put in place because they claim, you know, code infractions
Yeah.
were the source or, a contributing factor towards the rapid spread of the fire that day. Anyway, I can completely see the county coming in and applying a whole new set of codes. And so it's going to be even more expensive to build there than it was before the fire. So,
Yep. Well, and
I
then
don't
getting
know.
resources out there to build and all that stuff, like that's why I was
Yeah,
telling Gary to look into those prefab homes.
right.
Like,
Yeah, it comes in a freaking container and you get there and it takes you 3 days or whatever to take it out and bolt all the shit together.
yeah,
Yeah.
for a third of the cost or a quarter of the cost.
Yeah, I mean, from a logistical standpoint, it makes perfect sense. This is the way to solve the problem. But from a realistic standpoint, my hunch is that what the county will do is say, you know, we're not going to allow this kind of thing because all this is going to do is open the door towards recreating a set of conditions that's going to make it susceptible to a recurrence of that sort of situation. So my hunch is that even though technically you could get your hand on one of those prefab houses and bring it in, the county's going to do everything they can to make it harder for you or make it cost prohibitive for you to do that. And they're going to say, "Oh no, we want you to build,"
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
from the slab, like that, um, because they want to have uh, multiple scenarios where you've got to get somebody to approve a certain thing, and anytime there's a document that you need to sign off on and hand back in, you're handing the document back with your right hand, and underneath there, you're handing, an envelope. They don't want to
Mhm.
they don't want to reduce the number of situations for that type of thing to occur. They want to make sure there's more so that everybody at each step along the way is getting that envelope underneath that completed form. That's how it works. Everybody that's ever built anything in Hawaii knows that's exactly how it works. So I don't know. Even though it makes sense to do the prefab home thing, I have a hunch that they're going to do everything they can to try and make it more difficult.
Right.
So, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the recording here.
Okay.
We're at the half-hour mark, and so we'll call it end of the session for this week. And we want to continue to try and be available to you guys. If anybody's watching this video and needs to talk to somebody, we're here. We're
Yep.
available all the time. This is the whole point of us being here, is to talk. And so let me give you a telephone number that you can text or call at any time if you need somebody to talk to. Myself or Chad will be available to talk to at any time because we're here. We're trying to be supportive of our Ohana, both the ones that are still on Maui and dealing with the situation, and some of them, like myself, have been gone on to other places but are still dealing with the repercussions of all of this. The phone number is 808-465-4649. Okay, 808-465-4649. That number is available to you guys anytime. Text, call, whatever you got to do. We're always here to talk. So we're gonna wrap this up, and we look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday. Um,
Happy
Chad, if
New
you want to
Year.
switch over to the other room, Happy New Year. Yeah, again, it's Happy New Year. Yeah. If you want to switch over to the other room, Chad, we'll I'll just wrap this up. Okay.
Right.
All
Peace.
right.
Bye.
Aloha.